Dr. Andrea Roberts with the Texas Freedom Colonies Project. What is a freedom colony? It's an intentional African-American community founded in Texas between 1865 and 1930 by the first and second generation of formerly enslaved Africans. I would encourage you to use formerly enslaved rather than slave. Slavery was a condition. It's not the name you give a human being. There are rural clusters of African families who started a majority, but not all of these freedom colonies. So for example, Freedmanstown in Houston was a freedom colony, even though it started in an urban area. By 1900, African-Americans had accumulated 31% of all farmland in Texas, quite a feat. In 1870, they owned only 2% of it. More than 557 place names are on our list of freedom colonies, which are known by several different names. Freedmen's towns, all Black towns, Black town, Black settlements, all of these are freedom colonies, freedom communities. Churches, schools, and cemeteries are sometimes the only remaining elements of these communities that still exist, or place memories, ephemera, oral histories are sometimes the only way we can identify the name that African Americans give these communities themselves. Why don't we see 557 freedom colonies when we open up Google and type in a name? Very often, there's been dramatic population loss. People sought economic opportunity and also political asylum during the Great Migration. Land dispossession, that is racial and economic and legal dispossession of land from African Americans, was commonplace. Infrastructure projects divided communities in half and led to a lot of displacement. So what are the threats to the remaining assets of these communities and people who intend to protect them and preserve them? Not only the loss of the history, but the loss of the physical fabric of these communities to the vulnerable environmental conditions in which they were located, their invisibility from maps and public records and planning processes, and the lack of access African Americans have to the forums and the means often to protect their own communities, or when engaged in their own heritage work, it's not even acknowledged as official heritage work unless it involves Anglos. So that's one of the challenges that we're trying to bridge in the Texas Freedom Colonies Project, is to center and elevate and empower African Americans to be acknowledged and to lead their own preservation and heritage efforts. My own roots are in Fort Bend County, Texas, where my family goes back 6 generations, rooted in a freedom colony. There's a lot of diversity today in Fort Bend County and master plan communities, but it was a place of convict leasing and a large concentration of slavery ownership. Memories are one of the ways that I learned in personal archives and cemeteries of how I learned of the existence of one of my family's freedom colonies in which we were rooted, 5th Street in Stafford, Texas. The Farmers Improvement Society, mentioned here in my great-grandmother's obituary and funeral program, led me on the road to investigating that. I learned and read about it and researched the Farmers Improvement Society, a 3-state network led by African Americans, because they founded this cemetery where most of my ancestors were actually buried. And then that led me to learn more about freedom colonies, because a lot of their membership were in freedom colonies. In Riceville community, which is located in Houston, Texas, for example. So my great-grandmother Hester and my great-great-grandmother is holding me in this picture. And she actually was born in 1877. So we see the bridge from original freedom colony founders to the present in this picture, or not the present, but the modern day. So what is the Texas Freedom Colonies Project? It was my own realizations of my connectedness and the erasure of this history, this very purposeful erasure and forgetting of this history, that led me to want to drop everything, my professional life, and pursue documentation of every single freedom colony in the state of Texas, and to uplift the grassroots practitioners and researchers from these communities descended from the founders that were trying to tell the story. So we connect and collect We connect the African-American descendants of these communities, these placemaking and keeping stories and histories, and collect and secure and counter map. We secure the data so that we can extract the information that helps us identify locations and connections to Black heritage and people and their institutions in these places of the same name as the place, and co-create research that generates solutions and new ideas. So we locate, record, and map freedom colonies, 357 of them. We did that in 2017, and then we use that to build an atlas to crowdsource the gaps in knowledge. What does that mean? It means to survey and ask the public to share their knowledge of these places, their stories, their memories about the anchoring institutions and moments and customs, cemeteries, churches, buildings. And we really work to grow the expert and volunteer capacity, and we center descendant voices. That means we want stories from Black folks about Black places, about their actual ancestors. So we give demonstrations, we support grant writing, marker applications, and help curate Freedom Colony historic exhibits. The verification project process, we're looking through the documentation and through the information we received to say, did it exist? What was the name? What was the county? What's the remaining feature in the landscape? Is there a latitude, longitude? And what is the origin story of either the institution or the place? And the public history, that's the publicly available history and public record. And then the community history, which is what an individual who's not a professional, but who has maybe written or oral history says the community story is. And so we look for links and data to verify that Black community history. Where does all this data live? Well, it lives on this public interface. Our goal today is for you to go to this interface to search, to add, and to share. Share this address and visit this website. This is where you press the Atlas tab and you can find the map. Tell your story means just that. Tell your story. Share data about the place, any data you have. And the Black Settlement Survey story or study survey is especially for you to add everything you know about the place, your own memories and your current needs, because we're interested not simply in elevating the history, but in tying current local priorities and local individuals to saving and preserving what's left. How? When you press that tab, you will see this survey, and that's where we record the history of churches, of cemeteries, of schools. So here is where you go to type and fill out the answers. If you don't have all the answers, it's totally okay. The more, the better, but any is appreciated. How do we do this? Well, the crowdsourcing, again, that means we ask you to come, that's you, the crowd, to visit and to share your memories, your stories, and to upload images, documents. So we have a feature at the end of the survey where you simply upload the data. This is an example of an uploaded story. Miss Cynthia Matlock of Green Chapel Place uploaded this story. And so you see in 250 words or less, we see dates, locations, that gives us a latitude, longitude. This gives us a date. This gives us family names. It gives us an accumulation of data that helps support evidence of an intentionally created Black community. We see AME, that's African Methodist Episcopal. So we have a tie to African Americans. This is how we substantiate freedom colonies. This is showing you our status. We've identified and verified 464. We've received a total of 359 pieces of input from researchers and the public. We have 81 places for which we require more information and 89 that we've yet to locate. So this gives you an idea of exactly where you can go to make a difference. Anyone is invited to come in and input the data about these places. So you would go to filter by county, pick a county, see what's missing, look for the green dots, look for the gray dots, and add your data. And we have resources. So this is the page on our website. You see the red on the side, it says community resources and research. We strongly encourage you, go to the TexasFreedomColoniesProject.com/resources. Click on each of these resources, print them out, download them to your desktop, email them to your friends, to your historical societies, at your reunions, at your homecomings, pass them out, distribute them. We want them all over the state. Our goal is to map the state of Texas's Black intentionally created places, and we need you to be able to do that. All of these items we produce for you. These are other educational resources, including a YouTube channel for instructions on exactly how to add information, how to use the Atlas.
2 minutes.
And finally, get involved. How do you get involved? You can sign up for our Adopt a County volunteer program. You go to our Get Involved page and you'll see that. You'll see a way to join our mailing list, and email us. If you're like, hey, it was all coming at me too fast, I couldn't find it. Dr. Roberts, I'm really sorry, I just couldn't catch up. Absolutely understandable. Email us at freedomcoloniesproject@gmail.com. freedomcoloniesproject@gmail.com, and also get on our mailing list. So this page, this Get Involved page, if you look at the side, it says in red, Get Involved. Each of these red boxes are the ways that you can get on our mailing list, email us, get involved in volunteering. And here are all of our contact information. You can just Google us and you'll get to our Facebook, our Twitter. You can Google Andrea Roberts. You'll get everywhere. We're all over the internet. You'll go through news and see us in the media. But most importantly, just join us.